Hey, my name is Sruti. I'm an author and spiritual teacher. Today I'm out here with my trusty sun hat, the fan that's around my neck because of my heat condition, and my crutch and orthopedic boot because I'm recovering from foot surgery. And as you can probably tell, I am just so determined to be out here. So once when I was considering starting my own business, I read this questionnaire and it asked you, what is in the way of you getting started? And basically asked you, in a worst case scenario, what are you afraid would happen? So I did the exercise and I went through the steps. So my worst fear would be that the business would fail, and I would run out of money, and then I would be homeless, and then I would be at risk of rape. And I went through this exercise from a couple different angles, and all of them, when you got to the bottom, ended in rape. And that is my biggest fear. That is my biggest fear, not just starting a business, but in life. So when I'm out here walking, filming these videos, you'll see me just periodically every few seconds look all around me. And it's just become this ingrained habit to always be aware of absolutely everything in my surroundings because of the fear of rape. And part of this is ingrained in young women by our families, our mothers and fathers, by society. They tell you to be aware of your surroundings because women are attacked when they're running or walking or whatever, and raped and murdered. So that's one of the reasons I got these open ear earphones, so I can still listen to music, but it doesn't actually go in your ear, so you can also hear everything in your surroundings. And that makes me feel safer when I'm out here walking in weird places by myself. Because I love to walk in weird, isolated places by myself. I mean, that's freedom, right? The freedom to just go out for a walk in the woods, go out for a walk on the mesa, go for a walk in the city, wherever you're going for a walk, or wherever you're going anywhere. If we really lived in a free society, I wouldn't have the constant fear of rape hanging over my shoulder. So I can remember when I was younger having this sort of unnerving experience where I was walking by myself in my hometown, and there was lots of graveyards. It's a historic town, the home of Louisa May Alcott and Emerson and Thoreau. And so there's lots of old historic graveyards. And I was walking through a graveyard one day, and there were people in the graveyard, not that many, I think just 2 cars. And one car was sort of off in the distance, and the other pulled in behind me, and it was an older model car, and it was driving 5 miles per hour slowly next to me, not right next to me, but in the lane next to me, down the whole length of the graveyard to the center, where there was like a circular roundabout. So at this point, I'm a little paranoid, and I decide to stop in the center of the circle, sit on the wall, and look straight at the car, in hopes that by acknowledging that I knew he was there and staring him down, if he was really following me, he would leave me alone. So he stopped the car in the circle, got out of the car. He was a shorter, older man who, after he got out of the car, walked over to a random grave and started fussing with the flag. But I knew he hadn't come to see that grave. that was just a random grave he picked to look like he was doing something. And he refused to make eye contact with me, even though I was staring him down. And so this went on for maybe a minute or two. I thought maybe I was just imagining things. I turned around and kept walking. As soon as I kept walking, the man stopped futzing with the flag, got back in the car, and proceeded to follow me through the graveyard. And now at this point, it was getting uncomfortable because we were getting close to the end of the graveyard. And at the back of the graveyard where I was headed, there was a short path that cut through the woods. In the back of the graveyard was parts where it was just empty, and there were places to drive, but no graves because they hadn't been put in yet. So it was a place for new graves. And there was nothing back there. And there was woods behind it, and then to the left there was sort of a meadow. And through that meadow is where I was going as a cut through back to my house. There's a school over there, and it's a pretty common cut through. So normally this is fine, but on this day, I was headed to the back of this graveyard by myself. The other car had left. Now it's just me and this guy in a graveyard, and he's slowly creeping along, following me to the back of this abandoned, isolated, woodsy place. So it's getting progressively more uncomfortable. So I stop again, turn around to look at him. The car stops immediately. He gets out, starts fussing with another flag that he has no relationship to, just to make it look like he's there for a real purpose. And at that point, I turned around, didn't wait for him to get back in the car, and ran as fast as I possibly could back through the graveyard, into that meadow, all the way to the edge where I was by the school, hidden in the trees, and he hadn't seen where I'd gone because I'd run so fast. That was back when I was young and had great feet, and I have never run that fast in my entire life. I hate running. So at this point, I thought, man, you might be totally having a really paranoid moment. I mean, so just to be clear on what was happening there, I paused in the trees, hidden by the brush, and I looked back to see where the car had gone. And there should have been absolutely no reason that car would have come back into that part of the graveyard where there were no graves. And yet, a second or two passed, and that same car that had been creeping along behind me came full throttle, 40 miles per hour, back to the part of the graveyard where there was still driveway but no graves. And at that point, I freaked out and ran all the way home. And I never, ever forgot that experience. And I have never, ever let my guard down on a walk ever again. So that is my worst fear, and that is a fear that I confront every day when I make these videos, and for the purpose of confronting where rape actually comes from, where rape society actually comes from, and what's in the way of actual freedom for women on this planet. And what is in the way of actual freedom is the fear of rape. And rape comes from pain. It comes from an inappropriate relationship to pain. I don't know what kind of pain this man had in his life. All I know is that he was on the hunt to hurt someone, and that someone could have been me that day. There are other stories that frighten me as well. Ones where not only is pain not taken seriously, women's pain is not taken seriously. One story I read a couple years ago was a woman who was arrested and put in a Denver jail. And she, in her jail cell, started screaming, just hysterical screaming. And the more she screamed, the more the male guards ignored her and just assumed she was upset, irrational, and insane. It turns out she gave birth in that cell, and that's why she was screaming and no one got her help. That is what really frightens me.